Yes.
Yep, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay, we're gonna have to do it again. Now we are live because we didn't have our audio.
Oh, okay.
So let's start again. We are live on what the COVID's going on.
Oh gosh, having tech issues as always. It's never smooth sailing around here. So yeah, would like a big welcome to our two guests today. We have Jacqlin Richards, who is an empowerment mentor who works with all sorts of people, but you do focus on parenting and children, I believe. And we also have Natalie Cutler-Welsh, who's a visibility and impact coach, a speaker and author. Just an all-round amazing person and networker. And yeah, we're just going to touch on various things that have been going on in COVID this week and in general. But as always, we get a little bit of a current affairs out the way. So,
Well, yeah. So we, if you haven't tuned into previous shows, we're not pro being glued to the news at all whatsoever. We're pro kind of get on with your life, and but we do check in because we run this show for a couple of days, and this is the news that jumped out this week. system is in place if really it's enabling the people that are more likely to pass on the transmission out and about and free, when there's so few of us. There's now in our country got extremely high rates. We are sitting around 90%. I don't know the exact rate of the total population. I know our city is over 90, and that was the indicator of moving into the traffic light system. And it makes you wonder though, like, if these vaccines are effective and they're working well, they only need, a lot of countries, they make 80%, even 70% the kind of target. We've pushed past 90 in some areas. And if these vaccines are working, why is it so necessary for these such harsh changes to society? In other news, basically shared what she was seeing in ED and hospital. So let's have a listen.
The bulk of the patients will be vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, you get segregated, you get put in a different part of ED, put into isolation. And people, they just, I had one consultant on my last night, she stood in front of our big board with everybody, all the patients and all their symptoms, and she said, what's going on? Why have we got so many patients? It's all cardiac, short of breath, collapses, falls. And I just can say, tick, 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 this is adverse reaction. All of our wards are full, of people having cardiac problems, people with flare-ups from their cancer, like you name it. It's just, I guarantee our hospital is full of vaccine damaged. It's just, people are blind. People just cannot see it.
Fill these guys in because we can't hear it through our audio here. You'll hear it on the live stream, but effectively what they're seeing in hospitals, lots of adverse reactions, lots of obviously cardiac adverse reactions, also a lot of upticks in cancer. And yet the doctors are like, I don't know what's going on. Like, what could be possibly going on? And she's saying it's like they've got their eye, like they're blind to that. So we are seeing lots of this. It is being censored. And going back to there's just this constant push. And so that's from the, and I will say I wouldn't call myself an anti-vaxxer, but I will say that, just remind you that I am of my opinion, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. This is a pro-choice show. We don't expect people to be either side of the coin. What we do expect everyone to be is respective and of everyone's individual opinions, and we're pretty much just here to have a conversation. And without further ado, let's get the conversation going. There's the news for the week, and what do you ladies think about this week's news and what's going on?
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you. It's an honor to be here on such a pivotal week. Obviously, COVID's been around for a long time here in Auckland. We've had, 100 days with the kids at home, 24/7?
At least.
Yeah, I think we've got 3 kids at 3 different schools, so we've had 1 day with no children so far. But hey, I'm not complaining about that. What I am complaining about is a lot of other things. So it's a pivotal day because while some people I feel are laser focused on, yay, I can get my hair cut, other people are like, no. Like, this is monumental. This is, like you said, 2-tier society. And some people like myself are baffled, completely like disgusted by the concept. Other people are just like, meh. Yeah. And it's like, it's hard not to judge people by their response to the traffic light system. But what's really interesting, also, you mentioned, whatever side of the coin you're on. And I feel like it's not so much a coin, it's really a big spectrum. And there's so many different places that people sit. But what happens now is this pivotal moment, December 3rd, takes us from the vaccine discussion into more of the human rights and freedom discussions, which I think is really what this is about. And so this is fascinating, and this is going to be pivotal. And whether the compliant Kiwis will stand up and speak up is yet to be seen. I mean, many have. 3,000 people on a Voices for Freedom webinar on average, but will more and more people not just say, hang on, like alarm bells are ringing, like this is not okay with me. I was fine until now. Now, where's your line in the sand? So my question to people watching, where's your line in the sand? Curious to know.
Yeah, and I love the conversation, and I love the way that it's being brought. It's like, what the COVID is going on? Because we have to come at it from that way. And, I work with parents. A big part of the way that I show up is through play, because that is the language of children. And, when we can be more playful in our lives, especially as parents, life is just better. Let's just say that. But one of the things that really has struck me in my own journey around navigating these circumstances is this beautiful place that I find myself in. And it's not that I don't wobble out of this place, because I do, but the place is, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. I don't know whether the vaccine is safe. I don't know whether it's not safe. It's like this place of I don't know that I constantly bring myself back to, because people say, oh, you need to do your research. And it's like, but I could find 10 articles that say one thing, and then 10 articles that say the complete opposite. It's like, I just don't know. And I really love this place, because it brings me back to me, and it brings me back to my intuition, and it brings me back to what feels right and true for me, irrespective of all of this wildness that is happening, because it is pretty wild, to actually think about 20 years from now and say, wow, I lived through that whole what the COVID is going on. And how incredible that this is to be in this ride. And for me, that place of I don't know actually opens so much for me. Not only does it open up my own intuition and what's true and what's right for me, because let's face it, so many of us are conditioned to have to look outside of ourselves and to have to be told what to do, right? And then we get told what to do, and we just, oh yes, okay, well, I just stay inside, and I'll do what I'm told, because the conditioning starts so young, right? Don't listen to your internal voice. Don't listen to what your gut's saying. Listen to the authority, because they know what's right for you, right? And there's so many moments and experiences in my life, definitely as a parent, where I've been invited, let's just say that, invited into finding my way back to my intuition, back to what's right and true for me, and finding my voice as well. So, you know, that's the piece that I just wanted to drop in here, because when I get into that place of I don't know, as soon as I think I know, then I'm stuck in my beliefs. I'm stuck in my, you know, the old conditioning, and I'm being directed into whatever it is that I need to find to confirm that, right? To corroborate that. And as soon as I go into I don't know, it's like, well, is this true for me? Is it true? Is it true for me? And that brings me into a really different place. And I know that that's kind of a hard thing to hear sometimes as well, but it's like, oh, but the science and the blah 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 and the blah blah blah. But you know, sometimes science didn't get it right? You know, because smoking is good for you, right? It's good for you. And you know, the earth is actually flat. It's flat, right? It's flat. You know, let's face it. There's so many things in history where we haven't got it right. Yeah, we haven't got it right. Yeah. So I don't know is a great place to sit.
Yeah, science is always changing, and I think people need to realize that. But just talking about your intuition, Jacqlin, did you find that when you started to tune into your intuition and listen to it, did you find your life got better?
Oh my God, yes.
Same.
Oh yes. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, going against the grain, or going in what I think others think I should be doing, or what I shouldn't be doing, and all of that stuff comes up and says hi. And when I am aligned, and you know, I'm deeply connected to my intuition, none of that stuff is even relevant. It's like, yeah, I know all of that, and I can hear those voices, and this is what's true for me. So yeah, hell yeah, my life got better. Absolutely, 100%. My parenting got a damn sight better as well.
Absolutely. No, how about Nat or Gemma? Have you kind of had a pivotal moment in your life where you actually kind of made the conscious effort to start to listen to your intuition and find that life? I mean, when that happened to me, I literally, I was on all this medication, and it just like, I was like, whoa, life got so much easier. Get me off these drugs. And it's been great since. What about you guys?
I think intuition is largely related to not worrying so much about what other people think. You know, it really is. That's an interesting way to look at it, but it is coming back to, who do you trust yourself. And the pivotal conversation for me was maybe about a month or so ago, a heated conversation with the man in my life, and he was like, well, who do you trust do you trust Susie what's her face, and do you trust Michael Baker? And I was like, I trust me. And it was literally like, pause for dramatic effect. It was like, I trust me. And it was just so foreign to him, because he's very externally fueled, you know, and a learner personality type, whereas I'm more like, I'll just go with like what feels good to me. So it's that whole follow the feel good, follow what feels right. And it might go like, I know this doesn't make any sense, but it just feels like the right decision. And whether that be whatever you're studying at university, wherever you're going to live, a relationship starting or ending, you can use this technique everywhere, right? It's just learning. We have to relearn, actually, like Jacqlin, like you said, from the get-go, we're taught not to, right? Relearn what that feels like, and then the step is to actually listen to it, right? Just actually trust it, and not get wobbly and waver about it.
I think the hard thing is I know I struggle with it, and is trying to work out, you know, what's intuition and what's ego. You know, which one? And and you end up having a sort of debate and a fight with yourself, because the logic, the ego, or the outside influences come in, and it's that, trying to drop into what is right, and listening to those, that intuitive voice, which I think we're probably all struggling with. But I think when you just sit in that silence, in that moment, and just like, what feels right for me, and I guess, you know, your body tells you a lot of the time as well. So I think when it's come down to, you know, these choices that we're making at the moment, I think, you know, one way I get an anxiety within me. I'm like, okay, well, that's not good. And then the other way, it's still a bit of anxiety, because, you know, there's limitations, but it's also a lot more calm. So it's for me, that sort of feeling into that is a good indicator.
Yeah, I can share some on I often tell people, and actually funny, yesterday when I got bombarded, I got my daily social attack on my daily dose of unvaccination
Daily
abuse.
dose of social abuse.
Yeah, vaccination abuse. For choosing to be a streamer and doing this, and she just absolutely ripped me to shreds. Go get a real job and go do this and go get vaccinated so you can take your son to a cafe. So he gets to go to a cafe, and I'm thinking, well, he can go to a cafe with all the rest of my vaccinated family. Like, he can still go. And but going back to the intuition and emotion, and what I said to her is that because I did effective neuroscience like a decade ago, and we have this system in our brain called the approach withdrawal system, and really all our good feelings, they are one hemisphere of the brain, and that is the approach system, and the other feelings are the other hemisphere, and it's the withdrawal. And our bodies are literally wired and designed to have these feelings to guide us. And so, it links all through your nervous system, your parasympathetic and your sympathetic response. And so, like when you're feeling good and you approach something, you'll typically get all the parasympathetic reactions, and that's like the preparing you for food, for sex, for all those good times. And I used to do this like the caveman, the fire's coming and the warm food. You have these these characteristic behaviors that come through all of us. And then obviously the rigid, the withdrawal, there's a tiger coming, I've got to run. So our sympathetic system fires up, and people don't realize, our emotions are our most primitive form of communication with not just us, but the world. They are a frequency, an electromagnetic frequency. And so we really need to let our emotions guide us. And if you do, and they're deeply connected to the thoughts. And so this is where the intuition comes along. And by sitting and listening, yes, it is hard to distinguish between ego. I can tell you in terms of like subconscious versus ego, when you're kind of getting visions, if the visualizations are really clear, they're typically ego. If they're very hazy and dream-like, they'll be more like subconscious. But, just give it a shot. And I think if you're following positive emotions, if you're going... If it's ego, and it's because ego is not a bad thing. It's what we are here because of ego, and it anchors us in this physical world. But if you go and listen to your ego and it sends you awry, your emotions will tell you that. So really, just listen to your emotions, and they'll help you get through. And I think that's a really good segue onto you ladies do amazing things, and why we brought you into the show is you're both very positive, empowering ladies with your businesses, and so I'm wondering, how are your businesses going? You can pick who talks first, and specifically what you're finding working with people in this current COVID climate, and perhaps our viewers can take some things away.
Yeah, but potentially what challenges you're seeing and solutions that you can offer would be great.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I really want to send some big love to all the businesses that haven't been able to operate to full capacity, especially in Auckland over the last 3 months, but even over the last 2 years, with things changing. And I don't live in that world, meaning I don't own a premises. I don't rely on customers coming in the door. I, of course, do coach people in person, sometimes. And I had a few events canceled, in-person physical events canceled. Or postponed, and it's fine, it's doable. So I kind of represent, and Jacqlin's same but different, the solopreneurs, really the solopreneurs that do most of their work online. So we're in this kind of sweet spot to a certain extent, especially if we already have digital offerings, especially if we already have a leveraged business model. So I already have doTERRA as a leveraged business model, which means, when COVID hit, I was like still making $5,000 a month. Yeah, which was amazing, nice. And even if I had events canceled and things. So, and of course that's a product-based business, but I don't like sit here and going to the post office every day. Like they just get shipped from the warehouse straight to the person's door. And so I was able to just carry on, but I realize a lot of people were not able to carry on. So big love to those people, big love to the businesses that finally are able to open their doors tomorrow with the traffic light. However, they're being asked to basically be police men and women, right? Asking for vaccine passports, which they may or may not agree with. They also have staff to look after. I mean, there's so many factors to consider. So I'm not going to go down that road because I don't live in that world, but I just want to send some love to people who do live in that world of owning a business. They really got the squeeze on. They really got pushed into a corner. So many industries did. Nurses, midwives, teachers, everybody got pushed into a corner. And no one puts baby in the corner. So my business is all about upping your brave, speaking your truth, confidence, resilience. Yes, I mainly work with speakers and authors and entrepreneurs, but a lot of the stuff I talk about is really helpful for really anybody. And I find it's such a fascinating time now because a lot of people who maybe weren't vocal before are starting to maybe speak up, whether that's just simply saying something to their partner or their neighbor or getting on the keyboard warrior thing. And as you experienced, Aston, it's not always fun when people suddenly find their voice and you're like, okay, people are starting to tell others what to do more. They're starting to tell me you should go and get vaccinated so you can take your kid to a cafe. Like I got a text not so long ago. Why don't you stop reading all this stuff and just go and be a mother? And I was like, that is exactly what I'm doing. I am taking a stand. And I got my mama lion just went cray, right? I'm like, that is exactly what I'm doing. So it's fascinating. So while I can get really wound up, I also find it really helpful to kind of two things, lean back and look at wow, this is quite a fascinating time that we as humanity are in, looking at how we as leaders of our own life rise to the occasion or explode or hibernate or whatever we do. That I find that fascinating. But also, that whole leaning into the learning and going, how can I find out more about myself? And I find a lot of people are showing their true colors. I've got a few friends who until now have only shown sweet as honey. They've only shown the happy, friendly, smiley side of themselves. And now they're feeling the squeeze. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, true colors coming out. It's really a fascinating time. So yeah, in terms of business, I feel fortunate. I obviously help a lot of businesses to buzzword pivot, but also really more evolve their business, their lifestyle to be more aligned with their values and their views. And then of course the geeky stuff, like helping them with their digital capacity and how they can create some digital products or maybe set up an online mastermind group instead of doing these meeting in person, which is a wonderful thing, but can leave you quite vulnerable. So looking at how we can help businesses be more resilient in this really turbulent, uncertain, yet exciting time that we're all navigating through.
And Nat actually was our business coach. We got the funding. Is that funding still available with the Regional Business Partners Network?
Yeah. I did a video yesterday. There's three grants that are available at the moment, which is really only going to tide people over. But what happens is they can get some coaching or what they call it advisory, and also implementation to help them basically pivot, or let's say they're super reliant on foot traffic. It's what can you offer that's still in your skill set, still in your area of expertise, that is possibly to the same market, or maybe you're going to slightly tweak your niche or your market to give value and to stay in business. And so there's three, I can give you guys the links later on, but there's basically three things, including mental health and well-being. So Auckland businesses only can apply for mental health and well-being or marketing strategy, digital enablement, etc. type of advisory or implementation services, which is really great. It is really great. However, it's unfortunate that we even need them.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say, even though there's what we're going through, there's so much negativity flying around. But I personally think the good thing about sort of lockdowns and all these kind of things going on and traffic light systems and whatever, if you kind of take that step back, like you said, and just go, okay, I'm in this position now, I've made my choice, or it's been made for me. And now I've got to pivot, and sometimes beautiful things can come out of that. We've written songs, we've started streaming, we're creating a fan club,
a digital product.
We can't go out and perform physically in front of people, but we're forced to go, okay, well, what else can we do now? And sometimes there's beauty in being pushed outside your comfort zone, to challenge yourself. And not look at it so negatively as well. And on that note as well, being more playful. What Ass and I do is we try and bring laughter and comedy, and
you guys are very
and try and not only bring ourselves up, but you know what we do is to bring joy to others. And so I'd like to cross over to you, Jacqlin, because I know you're all about play as well, and how what you do to teach and how people could incorporate more play into their life in this kind of time.
Nice segue. I mean, it was such a beautiful segue. It was the way that you talked
Smooth.
about that seamless. It was seamless. That's what it was.
Not even rehearsed.
Not even. It's just flowing. It's flowing. Yeah. So a beautiful entry into what I do, and I do a lot of different things around empowerment and what you spoke about, Gemma, with stepping back, right? Stepping back outside of what's going on, because it's really easy to get swallowed up by it, right? And to kind of go into this downward spiral and be at the bottom of a hole in all of this. And I'm not saying that I haven't done that a couple of times during the last couple of years. However, it's called being human, right? It's like, okay, I'm down the hole. How fast can I get back up? And for me, so much of this is around definition. It's around how we are perceiving what's going on and what we're making it mean. And, it's, as I said, it's so easy to go into bad and wrong and this shouldn't be happening, and that completely has us in the way that I language it is victim consciousness. This shouldn't be happening to me. Oh my God, the world's, it's blah, blah, blah. And, we spiral down, and I've been there. Okay. I'm totally owning it. However, when we can operate from a different place, which I call creator consciousness, right? Which you spoke to so beautifully, it's like, I got to get creative. If the choices and the way that the world or the environment is unfolding around me, am I at the mercy of it? Am I at the mercy of it? Am I a victim in it, or am I creating my reality?
Absolutely.
And when I'm in creator consciousness, it's a whole different ball game, right? Because I have a choice. I have a choice to how I show up. I have a choice to how I define the circumstances of the world. I can look at it as like Armageddon, everything's turning to shit, or I can say, you know what, things have to die before things get rebirthed, right? Before the new comes out. And so much of the work that I do, especially with parents, mentoring men, women, it's like, we know that things work out, right? Sometimes you might, something might happen. You might have a breakup, or you might lose your job, or, and 6 months down the track, it was the best goddamn thing that happened, right? It was the best thing that could have happened. You're looking there 6 months, in the future going, oh my God, it was the best, so if we can just grab that awareness and just pull it back and have it now, then it shifts the energy that we're operating with, right? And then, that's what I call creator consciousness, because, interestingly, I got the call to put all of my work online in 2019, November 2019. I just got, intuition, get all your work online.
How convenient.
Right? How convenient. I had no idea that it was because of COVID. I was just like, well, I work with a lot of parents, and, the excuse is always, well, I can't get a babysitter, and, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, it's online, no excuses now, so... and I've also started a new business in lockdown. So not only is my parenting work absolutely thriving, I just don't have enough space. So I'm going to put out a program so that I can get my work to more parents, because let's face it, having your kid, how many days have we had the kids at home? 100 and something, you said?
Insane.
Okay. Parents need support out there, right? Parents need support, because the way that we parent is getting a big old light shone on it at the moment. And it's being invited into a new place to do something different. But, so that's great. But I also gathered a group of people to do some other work, which is all intuition based. It's all creator consciousness based. It's like, how can I actually create my life rather than just reacting to it, right? It's a really, really different thing. So, there's a lot in there about how we're defining our circumstances, how we're perceiving what's going on in the world. And I remember I used this the other night because it was a great little meme, and it had a honeybee, a bee in the middle, and there were two people looking at it, and one was seeing honey, and the other one was seeing sting, you know, and you know, they're looking at the same thing. And and it's really powerful, because the way that we define everything in our world creates the perception of it, and our perception creates our reality. Absolutely. 100%. You know, and I use that little meme with my kids, and even their behavior, because I've got 2 boys, and you know, they sometimes like that, and I'm like, dude, are you bringing the honey, or are you bringing the sting? You know. And what this is, and this was something that I really wanted to share, because the energy that we bring to our life is everything, right? I mean, if I was sitting here sort of not looking at the camera and sort of talking in a monotone, you know, everybody would be checking out and go, oh my God, when's she going to stop talking? But, you know, the energy that we bring, you know, putting the little playful quips in, and, you know, I shared this video on my page just the other day, and it was just such gold, because there was a little girl, and she's obviously in lockdown, and she was making a video for her teacher. So she's doing arts and crafts, and she's got the glitter glue, and she's just talking to the screen, and her dad's in the background with the music playing and just like being a total dickhead, right? It's so good. And he's like picking up the little you know, the little brother and shaking him around, and you know, and she's just doing her arts and crafts. Go, oh, that's my dad. And you know, there's nothing of it, but the energy that he was bringing, right, was gold. It was gold. So, you know, the energy that we bring, it's absolutely based on the way that we define our reality. Yeah. Are we, what energy are we going to bring? Are we going to be in creative consciousness, where it's like, okay, we're in this. How cool can we make it? How fun can we make this? You know, and that definitely comes from a space of, how okay can I be in what's happening? Yeah. How okay can I be? Yeah. And when you can be okay, you can start to grow that, right? And nurture that, and then make it more playful. Yeah. Make it more playful, but it's got to come from a place of not making it bad, not making it wrong. Let's face it, it's not an easy way when we're so conditioned into a negative mindset, you know, into a victim consciousness. So creative consciousness, it's absolutely where we're being invited into. Yeah, where we're being invited into.
I've just got an example that I use because I've done a lot of workshops on this as well to bring in here, because what I do find is when we do start talking about energy, people go, oh no, that's really woo-woo. Do you get the woo-woo comment? Yeah. And I'll let you know, it's not woo-woo. It's scientific. It's measurable. My research was on that, my postgrad research at uni. My thesis was titled Empathy and Extrasensory Perception. And we can measure emotions. So scientists can measure emotions from like meters away. They predict it goes for about 400 meters, or a quarter of a mile if you're in Imperial, in every direction. And how they measure it is we measure it with psychophysiology equipment, so ECG, EMG, EGG, and there's some really cool stuff. You can actually measure other people's heart rates in yours, or other people's brainwaves in your brainwave, in your EEG and sorts. And so what they find is our emotions are this patterned set of physiological response, and the energy that gets detected is they find that the positive emotion is high frequency harmonic energy, and negative emotion is low frequency disharmonic energy. So it is extremely scientific. It's not woo-woo. And if you want people, the exercise I gave people to really start to understand this is that when you notice you're in a funk, or you could be in a really good mood, pay attention to everyone around you. And kids are a really good example. Like, how many times I know as a parent, I'm having a tough day, I come home, I'm keeping it from my child, but my emotions inside I'm still feeling like that. And then what does my child do? He acts out, and he can't tell. And you can see our children are mirrors for, well, actually everyone in front of us, they're our mirrors for our behavior. And so I urge people, if you do think this is the law of attraction, all that stuff is a bunch of woo-woo, actually start to use human behavior to reflect upon how, you know, it is real, and it is totally scientific and measurable.
I think people sometimes feel like if they can't see it, it's not real. If I can't touch it, or, you know, physically, but an example I always give
can't
is
see air.
Well, that's exactly. It's like, can you see air? No, but is it there? Well, yeah, of course. Like wind, it's like, it's the same thing. Like, you don't have to necessarily physically see it. I mean, you can see wind in the trees, but it's just interesting how people can just sort of they want to just cut off.
And this is where building on your intuition, and that you're opening all your subtle senses to receive these signals.
And it's incredibly, like, back to you talking about sort of the creative consciousness and how you show up and your energy. It's incredibly infectious, positive or negative. Like, we've definitely found in our streams, the energy that our people in the chat give us perks us up, and then something that we do perks them up, and it's just, and even though they're not physically there, there's this really cool exchange. Like, sometimes I come into a stream and I'm like, I'm not feeling like it today, but then as soon as there's people in there and they're like, hi, it's like, oh, okay, cool, hi, someone's there, and I perk right up, because it's like, oh, they've shown up, we've shown up for them, and they've shown up for us, and there's this reciprocation of love and energy, which is great. And then also on the negative side as well, you can definitely feel other people's emotions, which can be very confusing, especially in times like now, because I think everyone's trying to navigate everything at the moment, and especially each other's emotions.
Yeah, and I think this leads on to a really great point that I've been really, it's been really landing with me, and I've been making a really, really conscious intention to really notice what is impacting my energy, and who are the people that I want to surround myself with, right? It's like your diet is everything. It's not just what you eat, what you drink, it's what you consume, it's what you read, it's what you hear, it's the people you surround yourself with. Oh, that was a big sentence. It's everything, right? And if you're staying up late at night scrolling Facebook and just going down all these rabbit holes and hearing all this stuff, and it's all, and then you're wondering why you're feeling exhausted and negative and down the freaking hole, it's like, well, maybe you should look at what you're doing, and just really being conscious and very intentional. And it's an act of self-love, right? If you've got stuff coming at you from people, then how about closing some doors, and how about putting some boundaries within yourself about what you are and aren't absorbing, allowing yourself to absorb, because we are exactly what we consume. Huge. And it definitely impacts our energy, for sure.
Absolutely.
I love how you talk about the doors, Jacqlin, because I think it's so true. People, the silver lining, right? People are now more aware, or maybe more stronger with their boundaries about who they will and will not let into their presence. But we're talking energetically, not just status wise, but also in business. I think it's such a great time coming to the end of one year and the start of the next. And I asked my clients the other day, what are you closing the door on in 2022? And what are you going to open up and allow space for, right? And so sometimes you look at what you're currently offering. What are the services? Who are you currently catering to? Okay, and which of those is not really serving you, either financially, time-wise, or love? Like, it's like, I could do it, but I don't really like it. It's like, hey, we don't want to do anything we don't love. So let's, what are we going to close? What are we going to open the door on in 2022 as a business owner? But even if you don't own a business, you go, what friendships, what volunteer work am I doing? Where am I spending my time? What do I want this to look like? And reminding us that you are the leader of your own life. You are the CEO of your own health, even though you might not think you are at the moment. Let me remind you, you totally are. So I'd love to ask people, even if you're a business person, like, if you were to start a new program in 2022, like, a new program I would love to offer is boom. Like, I had a call with someone the other day, and she normally works with teachers, like that's her niche. And she's like, but you know what? I have all these parents coming to me, often with naughty boys. So boys that are getting labeled as naughty and she's like, they just need more nature time. And so she's like, I would love to put together a program for them. Well, you feel that love. She can still offer things to the teachers, but she's now opening the door, widening her market, or niche, and tweaking what she's already doing, but tailoring the languaging and the examples towards the parents which is often boys that get told that, they need to sit down and be quiet and whatever. So it's just so amazing. I think there's so many opportunities for people to tap in, like we said, to their intuition. What do you feel called to do? What would you love to create going forward? And what does that look like? And who is that for? And how is that going to positively change the world?
Absolutely. Wow, we are 51 minutes into our stream,
flies.
and so I guess it's a good time to start the wrap up, because that's never a quick process. And yeah, what's everyone's kind of, how are we seeing that this transition, this big famous transition tomorrow, historical, not so much famous? I don't know. I personally am I'm a little bit excited for some change. I've accepted the apartheid, and I think that it will actually wake people up some more to kind of go, oh, like, it's like you say, Nat, like you said, it's just gone too far, and the power will come back to the people. How about you guys?
I think some people will realize that they've signed up for a membership model.
Oh, yeah.
A subscription-based 6-month booster situation.
Oh, UK's going 3 months now. They're talking about
okay.
3
Well,
month
I think more and
boosters.
more. So with the traffic light, it is a really pivotal time, and I feel the same way you do, Aston. I hope some people do get a little bit more alerted by that. I'm more of a warrior than I love the way Jacqlin is so grounded in this, and she's really, I just love the space that she holds around this whole COVID issue, and I find myself getting more fired up about it. But I feel like it is a pivotal turning point, and people are going to realize they signed up for a subscription-based model, and they're hopefully not going to be okay with that.
I think more and more people are finding, knowing people around them that are losing their jobs or are feeling coerced or are standing in their ground. And I feel like more and more people are going down that this is just not right from a human rights aspect. I think when people didn't know anyone near them that it was affecting, it didn't bother them. But, it could be their husband or their cousin or their daughter or... and I mean, even we read an article about the owner of Lone Star in New Lynn, right? He's a part of a franchise, and he said, actually, I'm not going to open, I'm going to employ non-vaccinated people and keep it contactless. But he's now lost his support from the Lone Star franchise. But I think that's really huge and bold, and hopefully we'll get him on the show. And it's taking a stand like that, which is really, really powerful and important. And I just hope it all just sort of blows over at some point. But gosh, who knows? It's just navigating it, really, aren't we?
By February, I
Yes, we
think it
can.
will. That's my stance.
Is that your intuition? Your intuition telling you?
Intuition
But
is
I don't
saying-
mean COVID. I mean dropping of the passports.
Passports, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've discussed this, but I personally think, it should just be you should be able to show that you don't have COVID, get a test, or they've got these pinprick things now that they're going to be bringing out. It's like, cool, I don't have it, let me in. Because you could still, have it and have your vaccine passport and have COVID at the same time. So hopefully that might be a solution in the future, or it just gets abolished. That abolished would be good.
And of course, there's the Omicron, the famous. I realised I forgot to mention that in the news. The big new scary variant. How's everyone feeling about the new scary variant? Is anyone particularly scared about it?
Go ahead.
No, it's an interesting thing, right? Because that place that I spoke of I don't know, and that space of being able to navigate through whatever these circumstances are with ease and grace, with grace. And I think grace is a really beautiful word here, because I've learned so much about myself in this situation, and coming up as these pieces or these responses or these different beliefs and opinions sort of come up towards me and touch me in whatever way they do. It gives me such an opportunity to sit with, well, how am I going to respond to this? How am I going to respond to this when somebody's absolute opposite end of the spectrum opinion or belief is coming towards me? And it brings me back to a place of creator consciousness. What do I want this? How do I want this to go? And so much of the time when I work with parents, even when I work with children, my own children, it's like, how can I soften here? You know, how can I drop out of here, how I think this should be going, or, you know, how getting out of how can I win this conversation? How can I be right? How can I convince the other person that I'm right? You know, because so much of that comes out, and, you know, in these conversations, which have become a battle or a fight, you know, and being able to sit and relate and still be in connection with somebody without having to do that, you know, with having these different beliefs, or, you know, because this has been coming up in households all over the world, right? It's like this piece around being able to soften. And I remember saying that to both of my boys at many different points, and myself. How can I soften in this moment? And I immediately feel myself drop out of here and drop into here. And that, coming from here, leading from the heart, leading from greatness, is the way that I language it, is a completely different place. Because when I'm in this place, when I'm seeing my own greatness, or the fact that I have a heart, and that every other person on this planet has a heart, you know, and every person on the planet is doing the best that they can in these circumstances, and to be able to speak heart to heart and see heart to heart is a huge part of the invitation that has been given to every single person on the planet right now. Yeah, so that, you know, so that's how I sit, and you know, that place is, there's no fear in that place, there's no control in that place. It just, everything just drops away. Yeah.
I love that so much. I did a Instagram live interview this morning with Vainan Jacobs, and we were talking about love, and you guys can check it out on Instagram. And he was saying one of his tips was connect before you correct.
Nice.
Which I thought that's so aligned with what you were talking about, Jacqlin. So
yeah,
it's really easy to want to correct everyone at the moment out there, isn't it? So yeah, great guidance there.
Yeah,
and taking a pause to just listen, you know, as well, what other people are thinking and feeling, and hence why we're creating this show, is so that people can come on and just voice their feelings and opinions, and it not be turn into a heated discussion. But I feel like no matter what people's choices are, I think everyone's trying to do it from a place of love, and especially when the narrative is do the right thing, or do it for others, etc. It's people are going to do what they think is the right thing from a love perspective, but then those that choose not to should be allowed to choose that from their love perspective for themselves. I think a lot of us, and then it's seen as selfish, which it's totally not. But I love that love before you connect before, what did you say?
Connect before correct.
Connect before correct. I like that. And just listening, going, okay, cool. I see where you're coming from. Nothing's necessarily right or wrong, but I respect where you're coming from.
Well, that's a lovely place to end. And as a quick outro, Nat and then Jackie, if you guys would just like to kind of give us a bit of if people want to check out your services or your products, your website, how would they check you guys out?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm on upyourbrave.com, and I'm excited this, talking about closing doors and opening doors. I'm putting together a high-level mastermind group for already successful women entrepreneurs, or people that are experts in their own area, to really evolve. So it's evolve to amplify, who are really ready to evolve their lifestyle and their business to be more aligned with this next level, 2022 version of themselves, and being more authentic. For some of them, it's bringing in that more spiritual side, woo-woo, if you want to call it that, of themselves, and really integrating that more into their life or business. So that's exciting. That's what's happening for me. But if anyone wants to check me out, I'm Instagram at GoToGirlNZ. I'll see you there, or upyourbrave.com.
Thank you. And what about you, Jackie?
Awesome. So I have a business that works with parents, and it's called Your Parent Journey. So you can find me at yourparentjourney.com, or Your Parent Journey with Jacqlin on Facebook. I have a Facebook group there as well, which is a group full of like-minded parents who want to do things differently. And let's face it, the world has changed significantly. So the invitation to, in the way that we parent, is there for sure as well. The other business that I have is around empowerment. It's the same work that I run through both of these business. It's all about creator consciousness, except the parent journey obviously has a focus on parenting. The Wolf Pack, which is the other business that I run, I'll be leading 2 group programs. Yeah, one will be with the Wolf Pack, and one will be for parenting early next year. So it'll be a great time to make, to get in contact, get in touch, and be part of those programs. Because one thing that I really, really noticed in my life over the last couple of years is that a wolf pack can't do, a lone wolf can't do this work. Yeah, in terms of intuition, in terms of being a human, right? A lot of what this work is around intuition, and we can't always see our blind spots. We can't always see what's going on for us, but other people can. So that's what the wolf pack work is all about. It's about shifting out of victim consciousness and into creator consciousness, and it's amazing. So if that rings true for you, then definitely get in touch. I've got some exciting things happening next year.
Nice.
Fantastic. And if we've got any viewers that are not in New Zealand, because we are all in New Zealand, I presume you ladies, you can do this all online, so it doesn't matter where in the world you are, you can drop in and book appointments, etc.
Absolutely.
So, fantastic.
And we may as well plug ourselves.
Plug ourselves.
Give ourselves a plug. We this week are releasing our fan club. We are entertainers. This is probably the most serious thing that we do. Everything is more about laughter and having fun. And actually, we've worked with Nat. You've taken that kind of mentoring and looked at converting our business in this to accommodate for COVID and be more resilient. Funnily enough, when you said the intuition, Jackie, we did too. We actually jumped onto Twitch and we're like, we've got to cross over to streaming at some time soon. We're going to get locked down and we're going to have to go through all of this. And so we made that switch and took the plunge. And these are the things that have come out of it. And we are starting this fan club, which is a subscription service. You can subscribe to our entertainment at celestialentertainment.nz. And as always, please like and subscribe to not just our channel, but to our wonderful guest channels. You'll see Natalie and Jackie's links in the description below. And everyone, stay safe. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thanks, ladies.
You're welcome. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.